Again at how we can use scale factor or proportion to find the length of a missing side. So I'm going to use a very simple example here. So again, let's label this the original, and we're going to label this the scale diagram and put our little arrow from here to here. Let's go ahead with our scale factor formula, which is scale factor is a length on the scale diagram divided by the corresponding length on the original. Okay, so we're going to say that the original side over here is 50 and the corresponding side on the scale diagram is 10. So again, we come back up to our formula and we get a scale factor of 1/5. Okay, so this is clearly a reduction because 1/5 is less than 1. So when you have a scale factor of less than 1, the denominator is known as the factor of enlargement. Factor of enlargement. Whoops. Okay, so we know that we had to use a scale factor of 1/5 to reduce the size of our original rectangle on the left-hand side, and we also know that the original is 5 times larger because the factor of enlargement, which is the denominator of the scale factor, is in fact 5. So, you know, what that means, of course, is that if you knew that the width of this rectangle was 20, a couple things you could do. You could take 20 and times it by 1/5, and you would get 20 over 5, which is equal to 4. So you'd know that the missing side over here was 4. Or you could just take 20 and divide it by the factor of enlargement, which is, again, the denominator in your scale factor of 1/5. Okay? So, again, you can, if you're looking for a missing side, you can either multiply by the scale factor, you can divide by the factor of enlargement, or you could set up a proportion. So let me just erase this. Lost my eraser. Let's just, for now, say we don't know what that is. We don't know that it's 4. Let's put an X here. So one way you could set up a proportion is to take the 50 from the larger rectangle, divide it by another side on it, and you notice that what corresponds with 50? Well, the 10 does, okay? And what corresponds with the 20? The unknown corresponds, okay? And so there you've set up a proportion. What you can do now with the proportion is you can cross multiply, okay? So you end up with 50x equals 20 times 10. So now you're just doing some simple algebra and multiplication. 50x will equal 200. How do we get rid of that 50? Well, we divide, it's called the coefficient. We divide both sides by the coefficient, and we end up with x equal to 4. Okay? So again, there's 3 different ways that we've found an unknown side. We multiplied by the scale factor. We divided by the factor of enlargement, which was the denominator, remember, of the scale factor. The denominator is called the factor of enlargement. Or in this case, we set up a proportion. Now, if you look in this example where we set up a proportion, we compared one side of the rectangle to another side of the same rectangle. But we can also compare sides from the two different rectangles. So let me set up another proportion. This time I'm going to compare the length of the first rectangle to the length of the second one. So instead of comparing 50 to 20, I'm comparing 50 to 10. And I got to make sure I put them in the right spot. Because I put 50 on top here, I've got to put 20 on top here. And then because I put 10 on the bottom over here, I've got to put the X on the bottom there. So again, I'm setting up a proportion by comparing one side of a rectangle to the corresponding side of the other rectangle. Okay, so again, we cross multiply, and we're going to get the same thing we got last time. 50x equals 20 times 10. Again, 50x equals 200. Divide by the coefficient, and x will be equal to 4. Okay? So in summation, if you have a very simple example of, in this case, it's a reduction, you can use your formula, scale factor, to find what the scale factor is. And if you want to find a missing side, you can multiply by the scale factor, in this case 1/5, or you could divide by the factor of enlargement, which is the denominator of the scale factor. Or there's the two ways that we showed you to set up a proportion. One way you're comparing 50 to 20 and then 10 to x, or you can compare 50 to 10 and then 20 to x. So there's basically 4 different ways of doing the same thing. Either this has helped you or has completely baffled you. So I guess we'll find out. Just remember, though, you can always use the chat feature on Teams or email me if you'd like me to answer a specific question here on YouTube. Okay, have a great day. Bye.